This is Art Talk with April, Season 5. This season, we're talking with some return artists from previous seasons and some new artists, some people that are just starting out, and some gallery professionals. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art Talk with April. Today, we have Morgan Jones Johnston, an artist here in Alabama. Are you in Alabama?
I'm based in Birmingham, Alabama.
All right. Cool. And I'm so excited to have you on. I love your work. It's just so amazing, so expressive. And you've got so many different kind of styles or little directions that you go in. And I want to really get into that. But how did you get started painting and making art?
Okay, so I actually grew up in a little town in North Alabama, and I was always very creative. There are photos of me as a toddler covered in finger paint and drawing on walls, and it was just in me. And there weren't a lot of places to explore and nurture and do that. So there was one art teacher in my mind. His name was something like Bob Ross, and he was something like Bob Ross. So I was 5 years old in a class with teenagers. And he would, go bold little me who was like, yes, I'll go to class with teenagers. I can draw like a teenager. So there were tables, and in the center of the table was a box of magazine tear sheets. And you would show up to class and you would pick a sheet that inspired you, and you would sit and you would draw what you see. Oh, and that was the beginning of it. And then I went on to win the Coleman County Art Prize at the fair. And then I moved to Birmingham and I started taking art classes in school and really found a home in that as a teenager when life is crazy and weird or whatever. And I had one of those really magical art teachers in junior high who saw me. She talked to my mom about me applying to go to the Alabama School of Fine Arts as a visual arts major. And my mom was like, absolutely not. It took a lot of convincing. My mom said, artists will never make money. I'm not going to let you go to that school. And I bawled. I locked myself in my room and I bawled. Teacher, who was my advocate, Miss Nelson, she continued to just talked to my mom about it. And she actually got me an interview just to see what would happen at ASPA. And I ended up getting accepted with really high recommendations going into 9th grade. And my mom finally caved and she made me sign a contract, which I have in a box. And that contract says that I, Morgan Jones, am allowed to attend the Alabama School of Fine Arts as a visual arts major as long as I swear to God I will never set out to be an artist as a career, that I will go into a field of medical illustration or work at an advertising agency. And I signed that.
Oh my gosh. It reminds me of Coco, the Disney movie, where they're like, okay, we're not giving you this pedal unless you promise you're not going to be a musician. I mean, gosh.
Right. And okay, so now as a kind of woo-woo, whatever, I'm like, oh my God, that was that contract left an energetic imprint, not only around the myth of the starving artist that I think still culturally we hold this, that artists have to be broke or struggle to survive. Not true. I actually have gone on to travel the country speaking at humanities universities about deconstructing that myth and how you can create sustainable business as a working artist. So I went to ASPA and I graduated as an arts major, promptly moved to England, as far away from my mom, who made me sign bad contracts. This was also a lesson in bad contracts. So I moved to England, and I stay in
America.
I did not pursue art school because obviously at 17, having gone to a fine arts school, I knew everything. And I ended up finishing my degree in humanities, but it was English with a concentration in professional writing and public discourse with minors in French and sociology, which I did not go into those fields either.
Yeah.
I ended up getting into work as a photographer's assistant in 2008. That's when my career life began. And then I realized that what I really loved was the styling aspect of it. So then I was a stylist, and then I was a set decorator, and then I was calling runway shows in France. And I did all these crazy things. Then I had my child. So this is like way further down the line. Got married to a musician. Was always very artsy, doing artsy careers, but not painting, not doing fine art. And there's a reason. I think I was scared. I think anyone creative, which I do believe we're all creative, we encounter this, it's like a roadblock. It's like a roadblock in expressing ourselves. And it can feel really scary. And the solution is something I call eating the frog. Like it's this big, ugly, slimy frog that's just staring you in the face. You're like having a face off. And the only solution is to grab it and put it in your mouth and swallow it. And then suddenly it's over. The roadblock's gone, right? But I feel like the road of our 20s is figuring out where those roadblocks are, confronting them, butting our heads against them, trying to get around them, doing anything except to face them. And then I feel like our 30s is the facing of them, the overcoming of them, and making a new way. So then my husband and I launched a brand. It was like an experiential lifestyle brand called Club Duquette. We ended up opening a brick and mortar. It was incredible, an incredible creative outlet. It made the cover of the New York Times and Vogue magazine and all these things. So suddenly something in my artistic career was showing me success. So that helped begin shifting my mindset from, oh, I can't do this, to, oh my God, I could do anything. So in that time, I also had my child, had a crazy pregnancy, crazy traumatic birth story, and ended up actually pretty sick for about 18 months. And it was in that experience of feeling at odds in my body, unsafe in my experience, that I returned to the practice of painting. And it's something that I always invited my son into that practice with me. So there are pictures of him as a toddler in here drawing on canvases and all this stuff. And it was radically transformative. And that's kind of where it all really began again.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I love a lot of what, like your journey, while not the same as mine, very similar in that you kind of went through like a creative, like exploring creative industries in a way. And you're like touching on this, trying this. And things can go really well, and there are so many different paths as a creative person that you could possibly take that people don't even realize are out there.
Yes.
And you start exploring that in a way and finding, like you realize I'm really good as a stylist, or I really enjoy this. And then you start doing these other things and it just sort of branches out. But then that moment when you had that sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just this realization, I'm pretty sure that your life was on the line. You had this scary moment. You came back into yourself like, okay, now what is it that I really want to do? You know, like, what do I really need right now? And that was your art. And so it was like, just, it's kind of like you checked off the thing, like tried all these things and you're like, no, like it's successful. So I'm, I can do it. That was a good moment. And then you're like, but what is it really that I really want to do? You know?
Yeah. And I feel like that April, I think, is one of the greatest keys and tools is being honest with yourself about what do I want from my life and constantly refining it, because we're not always going to want the same thing. You might want something really badly and get there only to realize it's not what you want. I had, so going from getting back into my practice, then it was several years of making art, being scared to show it. Being scared to charge money for it. Wow. Like huge things that many artists encounter as roadblocks.
Absolutely.
And the way you get over that, I think, is you just have to start doing it. And thank God we have all these platforms where we can share. We don't have to, excuse me one second. We don't have to rely on gallery exposure, doing shows, printing flyers, being on the streets, getting the word out. We have all the tools at our fingertips. So also, I think you have to believe that you can do it. You can do it. You don't have to have a team around it. And so that was 8 years ago. I started showing and then started selling. And then, oh gosh, through the Club Duquette experience, experiencing these really kind of stratospheric creative wins. And then that expanded my ability to see what was possible. Well, if I could do that, what could I do with my art? And one of the biggest things that I like to remind people is you have to show up every day. You have to show up with regularity. You have to keep going, keep creating. And what really got me somewhere was showing up to the practice and making work, because you grow in what you're doing. Your skill, the quality of it, whatever, it keeps growing. It's like, a rolling snowball. And then, I really enjoy sharing on Instagram and creating community there and giving a behind the scenes kind of look. And what's so funny is all this was happening. I was still actively building trust in my own art and that experience and identity as I was traveling around speaking about it. That goes to show how deep these stories can run and these experiences and whatever. So I think there's a lot of value in identifying others who are further down the line than you, who can expand your mind into seeing what's possible. It was kind of wild that I was able to do that for myself, which blew my mind even more. And I was like, oh my God, anything's possible. So I started showing my work in group shows in 2016. And then someone asked me to do a pet portrait. This was like a weird little aside. So my work is really bold, colorful, gestural. It really, I realize now the thread all along was being kind of an orchestra and symphony, dancing with the inner child, which inner child work has been a profound tool in my life. Also seeing my child grow and develop as this new human in the world, wow, the freedom of it. Picasso said his whole career was really just a journey to return back to making marks like a child. That, and then botanical influences, things like this. And someone asked me to do a pet portrait, and I was like, weird. But it doesn't feel like a no, so maybe yes. And I did it. And they were thrilled. And then 10 other people asked me to do it. And I was like, wait, I'm making money. Wait, this is making money. And I mean, we do currently live in a world that requires us to make and exchange money. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this for a little bit. And I ended up painting hundreds of pet portraits and was able to increase my prices, pay my bills that way. And it showed me, it was another experience of something showing me a path. Oh, I can make art. This feels good to my soul. People want it and they're paying me for it. And now they're paying me well for it.
Yeah.
So that was like part of my trajectory going up as an artist. That was 2018.
Yeah.
And then I had an experience. So at the same time, I'm exploring kind of the work I want to be painting, this kind of like private body of stuff. And then I had an experience where someone who commissioned a painting treated me really badly. They were really rude to me. And
that's awful. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Not cool.
This should not happen. Okay,
Yeah.
so like 2024 me is thinking of 2018 me and is like, oh no, girl, no.
Yeah.
This is why contracts exist. They're coming to you for your unique perspective and genius. No one gets to treat you badly. Like I expect people to treat me well. I treat people well, and that is just that. And if not, goodbye.
Oh my gosh. People can be so just crazy sometimes.
You know, and
I don't know that's probably not the appropriate word, but you know.
This is a time of people not always showing their best selves.
Yeah.
You know? So I discontinued the pet portraits and then, but had built such a track record of success in my art that I was like, well, now I just want to do the art I want to make and I'll sell it. And I started painting bigger. They were very bright, colorful, abstract pieces. It gave me the experience of feeling what big movement felt like. And being in a very physical practice, which in many ways was like a full circle moment with this experience of illness, and motherhood, and all these things. And then I got a huge brand partnership. Someone reached out on Instagram from Serena and Lily, which is a huge like design and interior thing. And they do an art collection. And they added me, they asked me to be one of their contributing artists. Which was an incredible opportunity. It was life-changing. And at this point, I was having private shows, like solo shows at places. And it was one of those moments. This is another big lesson that 2024 me likes to acknowledge. It was one of those moments that I was like, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is my magic carpet. I'm just going to like blow up now. Here are the lessons in that. Number one, well, there are a few. Number one, no one else is going to make your success. And if you are sitting there counting on an opportunity to be the thing that blows you up, you are selling yourself too short.
Yeah.
Because no, it's very unlikely that one thing will be the thing that blows you up. And also, if that does happen, you are suddenly like limited. That becomes very limited in, for example, like Helen Frankenthaler. Everybody wanted her to do the same thing. Once she finally got her foothold, not commercially, but like on a large scale.
Sure.
Everybody wanted her to do the same thing over and over. And I'm sure that's the story for a lot of artists. So there's one thing. Fortunately, that did not happen. I did not skyrocket to global fame and then have to make the same paintings for the rest of my life. You know, and also that false belief that there's going to be a magic carpet to take you, a shooting star to take you to your success. You are selling yourself short and giving away your ownership and autonomy and agency of you being in control of your legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people do that, though. I think we're all kind of sitting around waiting for that person that's like, oh, finally, this is the artist. You know? I've been looking
great to want opportunities. Yes. Opportunities are incredible, and I welcome them with such gratitude and excitement.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you are expecting it to be a shooting star, and it happens, and if it's anything less than that, suddenly you feel disappointed. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So it's a practice of like being really present in it. So I did that collection collaboration with Serena and Lily for 2 years. And I got to a place where, and it was great. They're wonderful to work with. It was an amazing opportunity. I had art all over the country in their stores and in collections. But one of the contract terms was when a piece sells, you have 48 hours to ship it. So only having 48 hours to ship something meant that I couldn't be traveling. And that freedom and spaciousness and ability to go and do something is really important to me. And it took about a year. This is what a journey this was. That felt so big. The idea that I would discontinue something that had been such a big deal.
Yeah.
And it still is such a big deal in my career. It took a year for me to confidently arrive at the decision that I was going to let that partnership come to a natural close because it did not meet my really high priority of spaciousness. And until I am at a place where I have a studio manager who I can entrust that to, that is not something that I'm willing to give up to do.
Sure.
And that blew my own mind too. Like how do you decline an opportunity that is not aligned? Actually, this morning I shared a really significant story on my Instagram that I was invited to exhibit at the Contemporary Venice, the 15th Contemporary Venice, that is a huge exhibit at the same time as the Venice Biennial Art Fair.
Wow.
Yeah, a huge opportunity.
Huge, yeah.
And when I got the email inviting me to apply and then inviting me to show that I'd been accepted by the curators, it was, whoa.
Yeah.
And also, I looked through the terms of the contracts and everything, and it just wasn't a resounding yes. It was actually more of a, this isn't the right fit.
Yeah.
And I declined it.
Wow.
I declined it. And here's the thing, like I am 20 plus years into creative entrepreneurship.
Sure.
I am 10 plus years into art, professional artist life. I am also very attuned to my intuition is one of my greatest tools. And knowing what I want, clarifying what I want, and also knowing what I won't compromise. And it is on those things that I was able to make that really big decision. And I was so excited and proud of myself in that growth moment because those things kind of show, they bookend the evolution of something as like a human and an artist.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. What a hard choice, but also like a powerful choice, like you really stuck up for what you needed versus giving in just for the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah. Then
Not
you would have regretted it. And
not all opportunities are the right opportunities. And it takes time to get to that place. It's all data. You're accumulating data. You're building a resource and toolbox for yourself, not just as an artist or a business person, but as like a human in the world. You are going to be your own greatest advocate. You are going to be your own greatest vehicle for your success. And it requires that you get really clear on what you want. You check in regularly about that. You continue building your resilience, your practice, whatever that looks like in any capacity. And for every correct no, there are so many more yeses coming. And you just have to be in trust of yourself and the greater universe.
Yeah. Whew, that's a big one. I don't know that we all get to that place where we can do that. I think a lot of people get into a mindset of lack and of like, I need, like, especially when you go out on your own, like, this is what I want to do for a career. I need to pay the bills. I need to be able to do these things. It kind of feels like you have to take everything that comes your way. And then you end up being a lot of times burnt out, disappointed.
Yep.
And then it affects everything that you make and you do. And people start to like try to commercialize more than do what they really want to do. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much in that. That's a huge lesson.
Yes. So I have some thoughts on that. So from a strategic business, practical, the business of art. One of the things that's really important to me is, of course, I know what I need to make. I know my big dream number. And I also have recently realized in the past year of like, what is my capacity? So you can only physically produce so much without hitting burnout.
Yeah.
And if you are constantly also having to think about the business money side of that, you need to know where the line is that you are losing that energy, the channeling of energy that goes into it. So I also recommend you have to have a practice that is purely for the sake of making the art, for exploring, that is yours. Don't try to monetize that. Those things can overlap. It's Venn diagrams. There's no one or the other, but you have to make sure that you guard your time for inspiration, rest, creation for creation's sake.
Yeah.
Now, in the way that you structure business as an artist, what I have found from years of experiencing it that I've just recently come to, and if I can share it with others and it saved them a lot of time, that is like one of the greatest gifts I can offer, is you have to think about diversifying your income streams. So while I create really big work that costs a lot of money, thousands of dollars, that cannot be the only thing that I'm offering in my business.
Yeah.
Because what if the market changes? What if people's spending changes? What if the desire for, for a while, it's been like huge abstracts, whatever. Now, I don't change my way of making to meet the market's interest and demands.
Yeah.
But what I do is diversify the options. So this is like one offering for a tier that I call the collector circle. They're people who are able and desiring to invest in higher dollar work, whether it's large or multiple pieces or something.
Yeah.
I also think it's really important to have a lower tier offering of something else that is not related to this large, expensive body of work. So I do something called the collector's cards for young patrons. And these are like little prints of some of my favorite paintings.
Oh, yeah.
They're numbered. It's a rare and highly collectible artist trading card by the illustrious, fabulous, and singularly unique Jones Johnston, American artist and bon vivant living in the deep American South. So these are $8. I also have prints that are under $50, and it meets people where they are, because this isn't just about making money for me. It's about making the experience of art accessible to everybody. Yeah. So there's like an energetic mission behind it. I don't ever want someone to watch me online, meet me in person, feel inspired and want to be a part of my journey, and then not be able to do it because of the dollar amount. Yeah. So that's like the heart of it. And also as a business strategy, I think about that. And so this summer, I released my first self-published book, which is a digital creativity workbook called Create Anyway, The Average Person's Guide to Igniting Your Creative Spark. Yeah. And it is something that it's called Evergreen. So I don't actually have to touch anything beyond the creation of it. I designed it, wrote it, concepted it. It's amazing. What it is this workbook that invites the average person, whether you identify as creative or not, an artist or not. I think we're all made creative. It's the spirit that we're born with. Yeah. And through guided prompts and activities and reflection points, you get this really nurturing exploration to reconnect with your creativity through a sketchbook practice.
Wow, that's cool.
And
I like
thank
that.
you. Yeah, for years I led these kind of like top of the year challenges that were like creativity challenges that were really for anybody to like do something, scribble on paper, connect with that energy.
Yeah.
Flip your brain, like get out of your head, get out of this, like, spiraling fireball of late stage capitalist patriarchy, right? Express yourself. What am I feeling? Let me find that. Let me express it in a safe space.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So I also did these in person. I called it Rugged and Fancy Art Salon, which was a workshop, a very small container with multiple meetings. And we would get together, and through prompts very similar to what's in my workbook, Create Anyway, we would work collaboratively. We would explore these ideas and through small practices of art. And what I found is that what would come up are really deep emotions, like really deep emotions about how we feel in our life, how we see ourselves, how we hold ourselves. Again, that like inner child. I think that all of life is a journey to reconnecting with our inner child.
Yeah.
It's like our most expressive, whole versions of ourselves. So like now I'm almost 40. I'll probably be 40 when this episode drops. And I find that like I love dressing the same as I did when I was 6. The things that excite. Yes. And like I also am bold enough to be like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that. Glitter today? Yes.
Awesome. I have a little girl and she's like that. It's like experiencing myself at a younger age, and just seeing how like just with abandon, she's just like, I'm going to wear a princess dress today. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we do it.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
All about it. Yeah.
I mean, I know the parenthood journey is not for everyone and it's very complex, but one of the greatest gifts of my life has been being a parent to a child and watching his evolution and experience of things. That has been so radically transformative for me as a human in the world and as an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like they come into the world and they just experience everything for the very first time. And you're like, holy cow. I never thought about like the first time you touch grass,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get this
time that you make a mark with your hand and you're like, holy cow, I can do that.
To experience it as an observer and to have that, creative lens through which you're taking in them, taking it in. It gets really metaphysical.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's quite the experience. And I think like what you said about your own work is that you're kind of exploring that in a way and kind of I imagine you're like trying to express that part of yourself and just play with your art.
Yeah, it feels like
that you go about.
That's what it's like in my private practice, especially in my sketchbook.
Yeah.
I feel like the experience of working with that inner child as I paint is really more about, at this point, it feels like it's more about challenging myself to be so hyper present that thought no longer exists, that it's just instinct, that it's just the body moving really on a subconscious driving, not your conscious mind driving.
Wow. Now, how do you get into that space? How do you do that? I need to know.
So one of my many journeys in life, I was a yoga instructor for a while. I did a yoga teacher training and then taught for a minute. And then we opened the store and it just kind of radically realigned my path. But that experience really brought me back into my body, number one, after, having a child. So body autonomy and presence, a practice of meditation and all the different ways that can look. And I really started thinking about kind of like these etheric concepts of to be fully present is such a practice It is such an aspirational thing. It's so hard. And then we come back into our practice, the mindfulness practice, the practice of pure presence, anytime we return to our breath. So in that same way that it can be something so profound and simple at the same time, that is kind of what I'm working with and towards in my practice. And again, seeing my child, seeing him grow, seeing the way that his marks evolve, the way that his self-concept evolves between being so free and unencumbered of outside thought and projections. And then at what point do we start taking that on? And then at what point in our adult life and life as artists do we begin shedding the projections to reclaim our true selves, while also, for me, inviting that inner child along, like holding her hand, letting her drive the car, little Morgan.
Yeah.
It's almost like calling in your future to your present, while also inviting your purest self who maybe got stuck somewhere in a previous timeline. It feels a little bit like channeling of energy. It definitely is. And I do, in this kind of woo-woo way, feel like the energy that is channeled through me onto canvas, especially when I'm really in that flow state, which is my personal practice, and it's my goal. It's what I aim for. It's my favorite state. I think that energy moves through me and onto the canvas and lives there. And so when a patron connects with a specific piece, that's often what the process is like in my sales. When a piece moves into a collection, it really speaks to someone on a deeply personal way. And it's almost like they are connecting with the energy in the painting, not just a pretty painting.
Yeah.
So in the past,
holy cow. I'm thinking that's like the ultimate goal. I feel like, I mean, it might not be the ultimate goal for everybody, but I feel like, and we're often sold these ideas and theories of what makes good art, and that's one of those things that people will tell you, is connecting to yourself, reconnecting to yourself, and listening to yourself. And that's such a hard thing to grasp, I think, especially now with the internet and everything else going on with, social media, and how we just see so many other, comparison, like comparing ourselves to other artists. And how do we stop doing that and step back and truly make the things we need to make versus making what we see other people make? That's something I deal with, like trying to reconnect to that part of myself.
These are my thoughts on that. Of course, we all confront that in some capacity at some point. I think that this is one of the giant leaps in that reclaiming of self, is being able to identify that you're struggling with that, and then putting up guardrails to be able to shift you back into the tunnel of your work. So if you find that if somebody finds that they are looking too much at what everybody else is doing or comparing, mute those people. I imagine it's happening on a social media channel. Mute it, unfollow, mute, whatever. Like limit what you're taking in. Often, if you're beginning to feel that way, you're maybe consuming too much media.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody has to do a detox. I'm thankful to be really fluid with my relationship with digital stuff, but I know it can be a really intense struggle for some people. At the same time that you're kind of mitigating what you're taking in, be in your practice. Maybe not in front of the canvas that needs to be the painting. But like really pick up your sketchbook, go somewhere, challenge yourself to see things differently, go back to basics. It's like in art school, you're learning about the basics, the elements of art, line, color, contrast, all these things.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I swear the first year of art school, we sat in front of terrible still lifes and painted and drew the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I hated it. We also had a sketchbook. We were required to keep sketchbooks. We were required to do 8 pages a week. Wow. And then like once a month, randomly, Jim Neal, one of my favorite professors, was like, you have to turn in your sketchbook. And it was like, oh God,
no, I didn't do
pressure. I didn't understand the gifts of it until really my 30s when I started my own sketchbook practice, which is really like a visual journey of every part of my life. I'm so glad I have those sketchbooks from high school too. Back then, I thought they needed to be like mind-blowing, groundbreaking innovations in conceptual art and technique and whatever. No, it does not. You're flexing your muscle. You're training your muscle.
Yeah.
Let yourself be bad.
And that's another thing, that we see on social media where people are like showing off their sketchbook flip through or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of stealing that practice away from everyone in a way that we're going to think, okay, my sketchbook doesn't look as beautiful as that, like I'm exploring things and it's messy and crazy and nothing looks cohesive and it's just for fun and like, getting back to that part of yourself. So man, that's such a great, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Well, and I think too, like at the same time, if that's the self-talk that somebody is finding themselves in, so quiet that noise and then go find a page that you like. Go look in your own sketchbooks, your own drawings, your own studio. Find something that you like. This is not to say, look at the thing that I did that I like. It's for you to reconnect with yourself. And then find something in that. Find something in that piece and then explore something.
What do I really love about this that I did?
Yeah. What feels good?
Yeah. Yeah.
What feels good about this thing that I did? What is it that it is making me feel that feels good? Yeah. Now, can I explore that in the safe space of a sketchbook, small works, big works, whatever? I mean, what do you have to lose? You're getting in your hours, was like 10,000 hours to be an expert in something, which I think is like a really masculine energy kind of approach to something. But it's how we build a practice is to like show up to it with regularity and be open, allow something to change you, allow yourself to show up with no expectation other than I am here. I welcome whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
In your practice.
Yeah. I mean, that is a hard concept to realize, especially when you're trying to do like a business. You're also trying to run a business. And I think a lot of us get stuck in a place where that pressure of making, that amount of money that you need to make or whatever it is, you lose just that feeling like you can allow yourself to explore, or you could spend your time on that instead of your website or your social media or whatever thing, and you
have to guard your time. I think our greatest asset, our greatest asset and our greatest wealth is our time. And I think in some ways, this is like the sacred charge of artists these days is that we have the access to tools. We have these tight communities. You could reach out and talk to museum curators in a DM or a comment, there's so many ways. Again, I think the importance of knowing what you want, refining that so that you don't, because it's also a vast sea. You can feel
Oh,
really
yeah,
overwhelmed in
absolutely.
the vast sea of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
know what you want your life to look and feel like. And then you
Mhm.
start creating, have your big, big goals. And then you need to break down those goals into actionable steps.
Mm.
So time blocking is an excellent way to do that. No, I feel like time blocking is almost a universal tool because
Okay.
if you know how your brain works, you know how your energy works, you know what depletes you or fires you up, you can kind of biohack yourself to build
Mhm.
your schedule. I think you do need to challenge yourself to be in some sort of creative practice almost every day.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
that can mean a lot of different things. For me, I go through periods of waking up naturally at 4 a.m., coming straight into my studio and painting furiously, like these
Mm.
vastly just creatively productive periods.
Yeah.
And I experienced that kind of flow for like 2 years straight. It was amazing.
Wow. Holy cow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God.
Naive me. I like to reflect back. I'm like, oh, sweet Morgan, if only you knew. At that time, it was the pandemic. I really like dove into my practice as my medicine in a very uncertain time. It allowed me to refine a lot of things, to explore a lot of things, to grow a lot of things.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
then last year, the past 2 years, my mom, who I wasn't super close to for many years, we learned that she had dementia, and
Oh,
we had to help facilitate those transitions. And
yeah.
it was a profound period of deep grief work, which is a
Mhm.
creative process in itself. Grief is creative. All these deep
Oh,
emotional experiences are creative. It is like compost, it is
yeah.
turning you. You are going to change.
Yeah.
And also, that energy has to come from somewhere. So I found that I actually had a really hard time painting during that period.
Yeah.
And that was like, it blew my mind. Somehow I never thought that, oh, energetic output in other areas of my life could take energy from my creative production.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that was a big moment where I learned as a businesswoman too that to rely solely, my income relying solely on things that I had to physically produce was not sustainable because life is gonna life.
Mm.
And as micro businesses, small entrepreneurs, a lot of us are not yet at a place where we have short-term disability insurance, so that if you broke your hand, that
Yeah.
you would be able to take off and not worry financially. A lot of us don't have 401ks or Roth IRAs and
Sure.
savings and things.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm saying like this is something you're probably not going to hear people talk about openly.
Yeah.
Is it's okay if you are even like a big grown up and you don't have those things yet. You are not, I'm not saying it's the right way for everyone. A lot of those
Sure.
things I still don't yet have set up for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but you have the ability to make whatever life you want to make. You can chip
Mhm.
towards something, even if you have huge student debt from art school, whatever, there is a way. You just, the biggest thing you can do in this moment right now, of course, financial responsibility. I'm not going to tell you about that. I'm still a work in progress learning that. What I will say is if you find yourself feeling like this is resonating, I think it would be really well worthwhile to explore where do you have these limiting mindsets and self
Mhm.
narratives around your life as an artist, around your life as a grown up, around
Mhm.
your life as a creative person out in the world, around your life as a business person. Because
Yeah.
if you are an artist who sells your work, you are a business person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking, okay, I need to get her workbook. I need to follow all of her social media.
actually, I have a little bit more, a few points of business advice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you really do want to do art as your business, which I celebrate that for you, You need to set up an LLC. You need to set yourself up as a business entity that protects you, your home, your personal assets in the event of anything. And also, it's legacy work. You get to own your own legacy while you're alive. So set it up the right way. And then hopefully, if you want, it might take care of future generations in your family, or guard your work, protect your work for its longevity. Have an accountant, charge sales tax, pay your sales tax, pay your sales tax. Also, if you're filed as an LLC, you have to file your occupational tax every month, even if your income is zero, even if you're not yet doing business, you have to go in and file it or they'll penalize you, and those penalties build up. It took me 2 years. I filed my LLC 14 years ago, and I learned that lesson the hard way 2 years later.
Wow.
Have a good accountant, because you need to be you have to file your taxes. You just have to, like, protect your legacy, protect your livelihood, protect yourself. Have a good accountant. Don't go to TurboTax. Just don't. And you don't necessarily need an accountant on retainer. That can be very expensive and very scary feeling. So ask if, like, can I file quarterly? Can I file annually? Do your own books. You can do that. Keep all your expenses, because as an artist, a lot of things, if you're running your business, a lot of those things, you need to pay sales tax. And you need to charge people sales tax and then pay sales tax. You need a good accountant who is going to be an advocate. You don't have to pay, have them on retainer. That's unsustainable for small businesses a lot of times. But consider filing quarterly or annually. Have someone that's good do that for you, who works with creatives. Because they understand that for you. And then this is a big one that people are like, oh, no way I could do that. Have a lawyer that you work with on contracts. Have contracts as an artist. So if someone wants to reproduce your work, if someone wants to license your work, if someone wants to offer you a book deal or include something in something, you need a contract. It protects you and it protects them. It makes a good business deal. You want to feel good doing business.
Absolutely. And I imagine having someone walk you through that and talk to you about it, and not just like finding something online and downloading some random contract, but someone saying, do this. This is what you want.
Yes. So we have my husband, who's a musician. We have an entertainment lawyer, and I've had a few book projects, some that are coming out this fall, and they've been under a lock and key NDA for like a year and a half.
Wow.
I will be so excited to share that soon. But through that contract process, I would, send it over to our lawyer and ask him what he thought, and he'd give me feedback. So he's not ideating the contract. A lot of it was just making sure I'm protected and feel good about the money part and residual royalties and stuff. And in that way, it's not crazy expensive. Don't let that scare you. You can always ask on the front end what a service or fee is going to cost. Don't be scared of that. Wow, because if it's out of your realm of what you can do, you just say, like, thanks, I can't do that right now. Some people can work with you, but, don't be scared of the different parts of doing this. If you really want to build your life as an artist, even if business feels icky to you, you can create a structure that feels right for you. But you got to know what you want, what your values are, what you won't compromise on.
I think that's where it all begins. Like, in all parts of being an artist is like knowing what you want and what you really, what your goals are as far as, okay, I don't want to create portraits or whatever. I don't want to work with certain people or, and having that down so that you can make all of those decisions and feel good about it and not be freaked out.
And also don't feel like you have to do the same thing forever. You do
Oh,
not
yeah,
have to do
that's a
one
good
thing.
point. Holy cow. Yeah. That's another one of those things that we're sold as artists is like pick one thing, stick with it for forever. And that's it. Like don't
Yeah,
change. You'll lose everybody if you change,
that's
you know.
not true at all. Let me be like the spokesperson for that. Because
Yeah.
I've done like 20 different creative careers. And some people would be like, oh my God. Actually, growing up, my parents told me, why can't you just pick one thing and stick with it? Well, that's not who I am. I'm here to like see and experience and do all sorts of things. And what I find at this point is that all the steps leading up to it was building this beautiful, robust toolbox of resources and experiences.
Yeah.
That is why I'm here right now having this conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, all those things are related because you did them. So if you're wanting to explore different bodies of work, make new collections, try a different medium, do something radically different, you are the common thread. And if you are truly on this journey of the self, you don't need to worry about how it all makes sense together.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. You're just hitting me with so much wisdom right now. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. And you've got some books coming out about this kind of stuff, or
well, so like I said, the Create Anyway workbook is out now, and a lot of these big wisdom things I'm sharing in our talk are kernels of wisdom in that experience, but broken down into a really accessible just journey of the self. The book project coming out in the fall is, I don't know that I can give any hints. It is not like a tell you how to do things. It's not that. It's something else entirely.
Wow. Well, let me just say, like, if you ever decide to do anything like that, I would totally buy it. Because I mean,
thank you. I would love to do that.
You have had so many experiences, and I can tell that really know from experience what you're talking about. And that's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks. I do offer consulting. I do one-on-one consulting, which I like to do it in small containers. So whether it's a small group of people, which can sometimes be cost effective, and you have the benefit of hearing each other's questions, thoughts, journeys, or one-on-one, which is a little more of an investment, but you really have access to ask me anything. I would love to do a book project. So I feel like by the time this comes out, there will be some other things unfolding too.
Yeah.
Basically, like I'm open to the experience of life. And I'm so grateful for every step of it, even the challenging and hard stuff, because it's made me who I am today. And if what I have experienced and navigated helps to encourage someone, helps someone to have new ideas and direction, maybe save them some of the strife. What a gift.
Yeah, really.
What a gift.
I know. But see, that's what it's like. Okay, everybody listen and do the things.
When I say trust me, like trust me. But also, like we all have to go through our own stuff, you know? The goal should not be to make life easy.
Yeah.
That if you're saying like, I just want a roadmap to things being easy. When I hear that, what I actually hear is that maybe where you are and how you're doing things right now is just not aligned for you.
Yeah.
That suggests to me that is someone who's maybe burned out, frustrated, banging their head against a wall, and they need just resources or to see, to believe how to do something differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let your body and your experience and your feelings, let it show you what you do and don't want.
Yeah. 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 Listen to that. Like actually listen to it. That's, you know, because I think a lot of people just don't. They don't even pay attention to that. They're like,
for sure. And that's not their fault. That's like a product of these crazy times we live in.
oh, sure. Yeah. Being an American, maybe. I don't know. Like sell, go, 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 make, you know?
Yeah.
And
And the idea that if you're not making it, it's because you're not good. That's a lie. That's a lie. Or the idea that you have to that you should change everything you're doing to do what other people say they want you to do. That's also a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, you can take in all these bits of information and insights, but it's up to you to synthesize it to know. It's like a sorting machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
To know what is true, what is for you, what is not.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming your agency while unfucking yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And also, shitty art is great art. It is.
I mean, what is shitty art? Honestly.
Right? Right?
That's one of the things.
I feel like that's the thing we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, I like, I love what you said. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to do that very thing, is to talk about all these issues. And also, I'm interviewing people who are just starting out. I have interviewed college students who are exploring it and going through it. You know, if they're like 18 and they're like, don't know what they're doing yet, but they have an idea of what they might want to do. That's probably going to change like a million times. But it's interesting to have all levels of artists doing all different kinds of things and talking to, I mean, people who, okay, maybe they're not, you know, they didn't go to school, they're self-taught, or they're, you know, maybe they're making something that's unusual and most people aren't going to be like, oh, that's art. Oh, you know, like this should be in a museum or whatever. It you know, it's all in our heads. All of it is. It's just, you know, these stories we tell ourselves about our practice, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And really, I don't even know if any of that truly exists, except for if you believe it, right? Like you're believing it, then it exists.
Yeah.
For you.
We're in the era of deconstructing binaries. So when you find yourself thinking this is good or bad, this is right or wrong, it's a yes or a no, challenge yourself to explore what is the space in between those. Because we're not linear beings. Time is not even linear.
No.
Lines, the concept of anything being a line, a straight line, is also a late stage capitalist patriarchal lie. We're spirals. We're spirals, time's a spiral, everything. We're like not even physical bodies.
Now you're getting deep.
Goes down and up here, April.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I feel like I could talk to you over and over and over again, and that you would have so many more like things to say, you know, and have so much more. Yeah, I totally would have you on again. And I mean, it's wild, all of the things that you've brought up in this episode. And I hope everyone listens and pays attention and takes notes.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Rugged and Fancy, all spelled out. Visit my website, www.ruggedandfancy.com. My Create Anyway workbooks there. You can see my work. You can read my blog. You can send me messages. I love connecting with others. I think community and mutual aid are the way of the future, and the rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Morgan. That's awesome.
April.
Thank you for listening to Art Talk with April. New episodes are out every Tuesday at 6 p.m.